All right, Cam Stuart is here, locked on Baylor. The reason I wanted to talk to him today is because, first of all, he's a member of our team here at the Rogue Media Network.
Yes, baby, yeah.
Now, that means a lot. And to have you here, Baylor grad, but you're from New England, which I love being from Philadelphia.
Yeah.
How did you, by the way, how did you end up in Texas? How did you end up at Baylor?
Plane.
Yeah. Playing what?
Like flying in a plane. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought you said playing. So how? Yeah.
That joke kills, by the way. Pete, just wanted to see something new. Honestly, my dad did spend some time at UT, served some time there, and so like there was always kind of that Texas intrigue.
What did he do?
So it was like he spent some years at grad school there.
Oh, okay.
He finished at Duke. That's how I got my name.
Oh, yeah.
As a matter of fact. And so I was like, all right, let's see. I love New England. I love Massachusetts. Let's try something different. Let's get out. And I don't know. Texas was like as far as I could get in this country, and I was like, let's go check it out. Toured the schools here in Texas. Baylor was like busting at the time. It might have been the most popular, like on the rise school in the country, and loved the campus. Had a bit of a northern feel to it. I didn't feel like I was in Texas on campus, and have been here ever since. Well, it's almost 10 years.
Now, would you say sitting in this seat at the Rogue Media Network in the Alico building that you made a good decision? I asked
in that
because I know you're
specific
telling the truth.
context. Maybe not, but then the fact that I'm talking to Pete Sousa, absolutely.
Well, we're going to talk about.
Alico.
There's a lot more to unpack here with you, and we're going to do that. We have plenty of time to do that in the future, but I want to talk to you today. Initially, I wanted just to talk to you about the playoffs and about the Bruins and the Celtics.
Yes. Which is the only thing I actually like talking about.
Bruins play tonight.
Yeah.
You play the Maple Leafs. You're
Chance
up
to
3
end
games to 1 in the series.
Yep. Chance to finish them at home.
Are the Bruins going to win the Stanley Cup?
No.
They're not.
No.
Now, why
I would
are they
love
not?
to.
Is it because you're a jaded fan from Boston that they're not going to win, or are they really not going to win?
Well, they do always mess it up.
Yeah.
They frequently do. But I have been blessed enough to see them win a Stanley Cup in my lifetime. I don't know if the defense core will hold up, Pete. I think that's what it is. They got the goaltending, and they're getting bottom 6 scoring, which has been a problem in years past. I like the top end of this D core. I don't know if it's deep enough to get them there. They can win the cup. I just don't think they will.
All right, Celtics.
I mean, they better, right?
So they bet. Do you think? I want to get your thoughts real quickly before we get to Baylor on Joe Mazzulla. It's so interesting to me that he flies under the radar until something terrible happens. Like right now, nobody's talking about Joe Mazzulla, but in the second round, when they're tied 2-2 and people feel like he doesn't call a timeout, they're going to drag him all over the court and wipe the floor with them. Your thoughts on Joe Mazzulla? Yeah,
he's in kind of a no-win situation there because you're right. No one will praise him, and I think he's actually a genius. Is he going to be a good to great NBA head coach? I think that still remains to be seen. There's a lot more than just being a genius, as a matter of fact. But he is one of those no-win situation. Even if they win the title this year, he'll be like Casey Jones when they won it in '86. What did you have to do? Just roll the basketballs out? I love Joe Mazzulla. I really liked Ime Udoka too, because they're guys who just aren't going to take any crap. And really, I think that's what you need in the NBA. You don't need the days of the hard ass are over, but you just need to be able to, talk with your players. And I think Mazzulla does that. He doesn't ever get too high, doesn't ever get too low. I know that's cliche, but he does that. And I think he's an offensive genius. It's kind of sad that Milwaukee is now not the main contender for them in the East because he figured Milwaukee out. Like they've worn them out the last 2 years. But Milwaukee is not the other main contender. So I think the Knicks are right now.
Well, we'll see what happens tonight.
Yeah,
they play
but
the
I like
Sixers.
Mazzulla a lot. And
yeah, he's a Bob Huggins guy.
Yeah.
He, by the way, he doesn't drink. I'm a sober guy. He had some stuff go on. He got arrested at a Pirates game, getting into a fight when he was at West Virginia. Something like at a bar fight, and he just stopped. I think when he was at West Virginia or right after. And he's just low key about it because he's low key about a lot of things. He's just super cool.
Which I'm sure you've talked to guys like that on the pod, right? Who just some guys it's easy. They can just give it up. And I don't know what the clues are for that, but he seems like he has that kind of personality.
Yeah.
And my best friend from home, he was teaching or coaching. He was working at a YMCA just outside of Boston. This is a year or two ago. 2 years ago, I guess. he taught Joe Mazzulla's son like how to play basketball. Like he was in the camps, like my buddy was teaching him how to dribble and stuff. And Joe used to pick him up every day. And my buddy knew that he was like an assistant for the Celtics, not a high level assistant. And one day the kid's mom picked him up. And that night, Mazzulla, they got rid of Udoka and announced Mazzulla's the head coach.
Back row Joe became front row Joe.
Yeah, and I'm like, dude, could you imagine like having to teach the head coach of the Boston Celtics son basketball, like Tiger Woods' son how to putt? Like that's insane.
Well, it says to me that dad's cool because he's like, okay, you can learn this skill somewhere else.
Yeah,
right?
from a Rockland High star, might have it. Yeah.
So where'd you go to high school?
Rockland High School, baby.
Oh, so your
Born
buddy
and
went
bred.
to Rockland too. Where did you grow up? What part?
So it's a town about 15 miles south of Boston. So small town. Like I'm a small town kid.
What's it called?
Close enough to Boston. It's Rockland.
Okay, Rockland.
High.
Okay,
Rockland,
that's
Mass.
my bad.
Rockland High.
Okay.
Yep. So we'd say Rockland, Mass. Kiss my butt. Yeah, it's total nothing town. Nothing comes in. Nothing comes out. I'm probably like on the Mount Rushmore of most famous people from Rockland just by being on this show.
Okay. Yeah.
But we do have a huge TikTok star from Rockland.
Who's that?
Brianna Chicken Fry.
Oh,
Barstool Sports.
Dude,
yeah.
She just came across my feed for something.
No kidding.
Yeah.
She went to high school with me. She's a couple years younger than me,
I
but
looked her
grew
up.
up like 4 houses down.
Was that like a Portnoy thing? Was she involved with something like that? I feel
Yeah. So she got the job for being big on TikTok, like gangbusters on TikTok, and then she did I don't know if they still do it. I should check. She and another TikTok guy would do a show with Portnoy that would basically be like, here's the trends. Haha, Portnoy's an old guy. He doesn't know. And then he'd snap back and like they wouldn't know who Bruce Springsteen was.
Do you like Portnoy?
Yeah, man.
Yeah, he's awesome.
Yeah, he's great. I am a child of Barstool too.
Yeah.
Like that was, like I don't want to be that guy, but I was into it, and my friends were into it before it really took off at all. Like they were still out of Milton. In fact, they started their first office was the town right next to Rockland. So yeah, we've been in it. The newspaper days.
I knew him before. Todd McShay was my buddy. They both went to Swampscott.
Swampscott.
They went to Swampscott with another dude named Todd Klein, who like runs Tottenham, the soccer team over there. Great dude.
I didn't know that.
Peter Woodfork. He's worked for Major League Baseball, and the front office is there. This other guy, Traeger DePietro, is like an incredible artist. McShay and Portnoy. They were all in the same.
Man.
They were all in the same class. It's kind of crazy. So
It's crazy.
Todd,
I mean, that's Swampscott's almost like Rockland. So I say like
Yeah.
nothing goes on in Rockland. I mean, it's a little nicer for sure, but it's not like this huge. It's not like South Lake to Dallas or something.
It's amazing. So I got to know Todd, and I worked together and lived together because we went to Richmond, and then we worked for the War Room and all that stuff, the Football Scouts Inc. And I met Portnoy a bunch of times, hung out with him a lot. He was always so cool, big personality, just like interjecting. I knew a little bit about Barstool. And then you turn around. Yeah, he was always like a fun guy to have around. He was not like, now he's sort of imposing. He wasn't back then.
He's just
was
a
like,
dude, yeah.
He's just a cool dude with a lot of opinions that would you. Let's bleep that out. That would mess with you. Mark that.
I made sure to ask in my initial interviews what we could get away with. On
Well,
the network.
you can say it. I don't want to say it. All right, so let's get
Your mom listens, so yeah.
She does sometimes.
Yeah, no, so I get it.
Yeah. I'm more
mom
just
swears
afraid
more
of
than I do,
everything,
so.
losing my job and stuff. So I mean,
That's local news, man. The news did it to you. Did it
But
to
even
me.
after the news, it's just yeah. So I wanted to ask you today about Baylor football and Baylor basketball.
let's do it.
I want to get Big 12 focused here with you. Baylor football doesn't have anybody get drafted. This is something that I know as a Baylor alum and somebody who's very close to the program covering it, disappoints you on a couple of different levels. Walk us through what goes on through someone like you and their mindset when you see that this team, who was a top 5 team, just a couple years removed, had no player drafted. And what were there, 11 teams? Power 5 teams, other teams?
I think 11 total. And like it sucks because those other teams
11 other Power 5 teams who didn't have anyone drafted.
were like Nebraska, who's I think on the come up with Matt Rule. I believe in that. But it's like Northwestern, Indiana, Georgia Tech. Like these are the schools we laugh at for football. We laugh at these programs. And Baylor is now within that. right? And like I thought back to my freshman year was Art Briles' last year, and that draft we had like 5 or 6 guys, and that was an every year thing. And it's not like they were all going to be all pros or anything, but they were getting drafted, and Baylor was a name on draft day. And I looked back at it, the 4 years that Aranda's been here, in 2022, which was his second draft, they had 6 guys taken. That was after the Sugar Bowl year, the Big 12 year. Awesome season for the Bears. Great. But the year before that, his first year, they had 1 guy drafted. The year after that, he had 1 guy drafted. And now he has 0 guys drafted this year. That sucks, man. Like, that is, you're not winning on the recruiting trail. You're not winning on the field. And you're not winning in the draft room either. So it's like, it's obviously not a low point for Baylor football. They had plenty of those before the 21st century. But, like, this is not a great situation to be in, and we didn't have a lot to root for during the season. And to then be like, we can't promise you wins and championships, and we also can't promise you getting to the next level. It's not a good situation to be in. I don't want to be a Northwestern, a Wake Forest. I aspire to be a program that has as many draft picks as a South Dakota State, let's say. I think we'll get there someday.
When you talk about the Baylor football team and their off-season experience, they have landed a couple of eye-opening transfers.
Yeah.
I mean, the portal has, I don't know if you'd say it's been very good to Baylor, but it's been decent. It's been good.
Yeah, I would say, like, when you look at it from a bird's eye view for this season, I think you can't deny that they've had a pretty good offseason.
The Ashton Hawkins is good.
Yeah.
He is good. He was Texas State. I remember
That's a starting
him.
receiver right there in the portal. And, like, let's be honest, anytime you're grabbing any kind of starters in the portal, that's nice, right? So I look at it, starting receiver in Hawkins, probably your starting quarterback in Finn, starting guard. I think he added 3 starting defensive players this week.
What happened to the guy Mike Smith from last year?
Mike Smith?
Mike something, who was a great middle linebacker. He was a transfer from, I think, Liberty.
Yes, you're right. He got hurt.
Who got hurt?
His knee.
Okay, so that was it. I remember when he blew his knee out, but
Mike Smith. Yeah, you're right.
So he's done.
I think so. I don't think he has eligibility left. And so you look at that, and then you look at, okay, you lost your starting quarterback from last year. You're probably, I think a lot of fans were ready to move on. You lost your starting tight end. That's a big loss. But other than that, it's all 3 receivers this week that had a combined 19 catches. A bunch of reserve guys, and you got rid of reserves, you added starters. To me, that's a win, and I love the way they went at offensive coordinator with Spavital. Like, the quarterbacks he's worked on has been incredible. And they're now making a commitment to a fast, up-tempo kind of offense.
Yeah, how much different is this offense going to be? Last year, when they had the RVO, right? The what was it? Something
reliable, violent offense.
Yeah, the reliable, violent offense. Right, so they fire the offensive coordinator.
Which last year, by the way, I don't know if any of those things were true. It wasn't reliable, wasn't very violent, and at times it wasn't even offense.
Yeah. I mean, and the year before or 2 years before that, it was so RVO, right?
Absolutely,
and then
it worked.
We watched kind of a slow decline, and the problem with an offense like that, when you have like a ball control, we throw when we have to, maybe we'll surprise you once in a while. And it stinks. It's tough to watch, and so part of the fan base, they lost. There was apathy around the program last year, which was a total bummer because I love Dave Aranda. I want to see this team and this coaching staff do well. So he made the right move, but how much, in my opinion, how much different will this offense be?
It will be different. I don't know.
Are we talking night and day?
I mean, yes. Yeah. I mean, and actually there was a good interview with that our pal Matt Mosley did with Mason Miller, the new offensive line coach, and he gets really down in the football weeds, and I won't get there, but he was basically talking about how much different the offensive line has to be from this style of offense. Like, it is just like throw out the playbook entirely, throw out everything you did last year. That's how different the style is. Now, that said, are they going to be putting up 60 points a game this year? No. This is a thing that a style of offense that can accelerate your program back into relevance just by being what it is, but it does not jump you to 8 or 10 wins from 3 wins in year 1. It doesn't. And we saw that. I mean, it's very similar to the Briles style of offense that we're familiar with at Baylor, and that took a couple of years. That was year 4 when it started to come together. When RG3 won the Heisman, they didn't make a bowl game until the third season. So like that takes some time, and it really took 5 or 6 years to perfect it to be a BCS bowl team. So it will be night and day. Make no mistake about it. It'll be more exciting, but there's a lot that needs to happen to get to play that style of offense and also win at the highest level.
What do you like about Daquan Finn? Is he going to start?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Sawyer
yeah.
Robertson last year, the transfer from Mississippi State, struggled when given opportunities to play.
Yeah, and the problem with Sawyer, too, was he was a guy who is from the air raid style of offense. Played it in high school, played it under Mike Leach at Mississippi State, and now all of a sudden he's got to run the wide zone, which is just not the same at all. I actually think, and I'm trying not to be too much of a homer here because Lord knows I could be pretty critical of the football team. But I think
we do, and I want you to be critical here.
Well,
be
I'm
yourself.
not pulling any punches here. Yeah. But I think, all that to say, I think whichever one is the starter, because it still could be Robertson, I suppose, you're in a good position. Because I like Daquan Finn, or Daquan. We've heard both ways. Okay. Another thing that our pal Matt Mosley said, which I happen to agree with, I see a lot of Trevon Boykin there. Remember Trevon Boykin?
Yeah,
the All-American
the big
from
guy.
TCU.
Yeah.
I mean, a guy who can get the ball down there, not completing 75% of his passes, but the escapability, man. Dave Aranda called him an 11th guy that you needed to defend, and Baylor hasn't had that in the last 2 years with Blake Shapen. Gary Bohannon was a heck of a runner, but he also had deficiencies in the passing game. I think Daquan Finn is a guy who can scramble, who can extend plays, and he was the only one that I saw out of that portal that Baylor could realistically add that could add a win or two to their schedule. Like, I think, is he going to be a Heisman finalist? No. Is he going to be an all Big 12? Probably not. But I think he's going to be a step up at that position, and that elusiveness as well as an accurate deep ball, that plays really well for the style of offense that they're going for.
All right, how about the Baylor basketball team, just to kind of wrap it up with you? Yes. I know, obviously, there's been a lot of scuttlebutt about what supposedly was going to happen in the portal. Some has, some hasn't, right? What have you liked about what's going on in the portal for Baylor?
Love the Jeremy Roach edition.
Yeah, well, of course, because he's from Duke.
Well, yeah. Started almost 100 games at Duke.
Yeah.
Led them to a Final Four. Point guard, pressure pack position, pressure pack program.
He comes, Miro Little says, okay, I'm out of here.
Yeah, he's like, that's probably not for me, which is too bad. I like Miro.
Yeah.
But I love the Jeremy Roach edition. And in terms of, like, additions in the offseason that we didn't know were coming, that's it. That's the only guy you've added in the portal. I love this recruiting class they've got coming in.
What about the freshman they have? The guy who was – who committed like right after Drew said he was coming back to Baylor.
So we have the three guys that are coming in. VJ Edgecombe.
Edgecombe's the guy, right? He was the McDonald's All-American.
Yeah, number 3 prospect in the class, and moved up, which is tough to do at that stage. So you got VJ Edgecombe, Jason Asamoah, who's a Massachusetts guy, Lynn, Massachusetts guy, playing out in Arizona, who's kind of under the radar. Yeah. And then Rob Wright, who is the point guard of Montverde, who won the national championship in high school and probably got snubbed to be an All-American himself. So this is the best class they've ever had coming in. And
they've ever had?
Ever had. I'm telling you.
Wow.
I mean, VJ Edgecombe himself might be the best player they've ever brought in. Isaiah Austin was like a top 10, top 5 guy. But other than that, this is it. And everyone's saying he's the most explosive player in the class. There's Russell Westbrook comps. Like, this kid is next level good. He'll be a one and done. So I think, they've missed out on some guys in the transfer portal, most notably Jonas Adu, the center, who's going to Arkansas, which that's no small loss. Like, Baylor still needs, as we are in May, they still need a starting center for next year. But Jeremy Roach, I love that addition. And the recruiting class they're bringing in is second to none. And so all that to say, right now, they're a top 10 team. If they had someone like an A2 at center, which is easier said than done, they're a top 5 team, which still might put them 4th in the Big 12. But they are ready to compete again, no doubt.
How are you feeling about the Big 12, the expansion going into next year? I mean, it's really gangbusters when you I start to look at the teams and think about games I'll be calling next year, and I'm just like, wow, it's really hard to even wrap your mind around it.
I mean,
like Arizona State. I honestly, I forgot about them. I remembered Arizona.
So is the college sports world, if we're being honest, Pete.
But I mean, it's just amazing. Like, there's teams and schools on the fringes that have now become a part of this incredible situation.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So in terms of like the conference standpoint, you add Arizona. That's a top 10 team all year long, most years, if we're being honest. A Colorado team that won a tournament game last year too. Arizona State suddenly got money to throw around with Bobby Hurley and finally giving him a shot, I guess. Like, this is just adding to the best basketball conference in America. And I think, to your point about some of like the schools on the fringes, all of a sudden, because of this year, you can't count out an Arizona State or even a Utah, which is not anything to write home about at basketball, because shoot, man, UCF knocked some teams off this year. UCF beat Kansas.
Yeah.
Like, they gave Baylor a good run in that game. Like, UCF, if they played that way in the American, they were a tournament team.
Yeah.
And so, like, that was one where you were like, well, they can't hang with anybody. Cincinnati had not a lot of prospects going into the year. They were probably one win away from being a tournament team. So these teams, they can come in and they take it seriously and they can compete. I know the ACC got the last laugh in the tournament of being, quote unquote, a better basketball conference that should have had more teams in there. But make no mistake about it, top to bottom, it is the Big 12 and then everybody else.
Now, do you feel like, as far as Baylor is concerned, are they in a good spot going into next season in the conference?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, good spot. I can't help but think of the guys they could have brought in to put them in a great spot.
Yeah.
But again, like I said, even if they were top 5, you're 3rd or 4th in the conference. Kansas is going to be number 1. Houston's probably going to be number 2. Iowa State, you can't keep them out of the top 5 with all they bring back. So you're going to have some good games to call, Pete. This is going to be bananas.
You grew your beard back pretty fast. A couple of days ago, it was just a mustache.
Beard.
Is that what that is?
Beard. Yes.
So what does your girlfriend
so
say about all the sports and the hockey and the basketball? Is she like, oh, this again?
I mean, kind of, yeah.
Especially this time of year.
Yeah. We have, like, Cam Stuart has left the building for hopefully a couple months. This is Stewie playoffs, okay? This is night after night. And finally, they're staggered again, the Bruins and the Celtics. So it is night after night after night. She just knows we can't do anything. She doesn't even like sports. Doesn't like it, doesn't care about it.
Is she in the room with you?
Right now?
Is she in the room with you during these games?
A lot of the times, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, she'll just hang out, play on her phone, like that kind of thing.
It's the way it is.
She does like hockey.
Okay.
We're getting her there. She did make an interesting comment a couple nights ago when we were watching a game, and she was like, I just wish I knew what a good play was. And I was like, what? What do you mean? And she was like, I just wish I could see a play and know it's a good play rather than waiting for your reaction. So she wants to be something of a fan. That's what that tells me. You know what I mean? So
she's not far behind me. I mean, I'm not a huge hockey guy. Yeah.
Oh man, she's getting it. She's impressed by how they can play a game on skates. So like, we'll go to hockey games. She likes that.
Okay.
That's the one. And soccer, she'll watch a bit of, but baseball, no way. She really doesn't watch football. And basketballs. She likes going to the Foster Pavilion though.
Oh, she does?
She likes going to, likes the atmosphere around it. But I'm thinking with women, and I've noticed this in my time of dating women, my illustrious history of dating women, usually there's one sport that they can latch on to, whether they already have or not.
Yeah.
Like, there's one sport. And,
Well, and you got to be yourself, too. I've gotten into trouble in the past.
And I don't mean that to be like, I'll say it to the camera. Women can like sports. I'm not saying that. Pete knows what I'm talking about. But I've dated women who don't care about sports at all, and they'll find one that they really like.
Yeah, I agree. And I think sometimes you'll even you need to make sure that and I can appreciate that you're not. You don't want to be a people pleaser and say, like, oh, that's not what. Cam Stewart, playoff Stewie, watches the games.
Stewie playoffs, yeah.
Stewie
Well, I will say, like, the thing I really appreciate is she didn't grow up in it, doesn't fully understand what it means to me, but understands that it means a lot to me.
Where's she from?
Like, she's from Charlotte.
Oh, Charlotte.
Yeah.
That's I lived there
know
for a while.
you cut your teeth there.
I love Charlotte. Yeah. That's cool.
Charlotte's a nice place. I wouldn't call it a Philly or a Boston in terms of a sports.
No, because people are normal there.
Yeah. And they're all from somewhere else.
And they do other things.
But like, so she didn't grow up in it. Like her parents aren't big sports fans or anything, but she understands that it means something to me. Like maybe she doesn't understand why I'm breaking stuff, but like
Do you rage?
I do rage. I'm much more controlled now. So we have a shed, and we have like a chair that we've never used, like a metal chair,
Yeah.
and I'll rage on that if it's really bad. Usually I can keep it like I'm just like clenching my teeth and yelling something, but she gets that it means a lot to me and like doesn't want to be like oh, it's just a stupid game. Why can't we do this thing because you're watching a game?
26 years of age.
Yeah.
Okay.
Almost 27.
Almost 27.
27 club.
Do you ever, because me now, I am to the point where I get frustrated with my fandom. Like if I'm watching one of my teams and I'm getting really upset, I'm like, what? Like I need another headache in my life.
Yeah.
Now, do you ever have those moments when you're like, I'm too deep in this?
Brother, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
Because it really does, as a fan,
like,
as
what are you,
people
a
listening to this
child?
can appreciate or watching. Yeah, I mean, you have to ask yourself the question, like, I'm not going to sleep tonight because Villanova
man.
didn't advance in the NCAA tournament, and I may not sleep tomorrow night.
Yes. And so that's always been like a diehard thing for me. But I'm telling you, Pete, there are some times, I think of like when the Celtics made the finals a couple years ago, I was like, I had just left a career. Like I was basically jobless and, living off her for a couple of months, as a matter of fact. And the Celtics made the finals, and I was like, I needed that in my life, which I need that in my life when I'm 16, not when I'm 24 at that point.
Dude, I hear you.
And like, I'll still, like, if the Bruins don't win this game tonight, which you'll obviously know by now, and they don't finish off Toronto, I will be thinking, oh my God, here we go. Game 7. It's going to happen again. They're going to blow a 3-1 lead. It's going to go to game 7. I'm not going to sleep well for the next couple of nights. It's going to be, and like when they have extra days off in between the playoff games,
torture.
it's the worst.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, this will be all that I think about.
Yeah.
In fact, the Celtics play the Heat. Like that has been torture the last couple of years. I almost don't even enjoy watching it, Pete. That's how deep into this I am. Because I'm like, I know something's around the corner that's going to piss me off.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do. To answer your question though, I am sometimes like, what is wrong with you? What is wrong with you? And it's good to know that that's not going to go away for a while.
Yeah. No, it'll be.
Yeah. Like I still, and like as bad as the Patriots were this year, I couldn't miss a game.
Well, and then there's,
I've missed
there's
watching
also
one game in 17
the thread
years.
that it keeps so many of us together. It keeps families together. It keeps communication. So there's a beautiful thing there. All right, Cam, anything else before I let you go?
No, I probably took up too much of your time.
No, you didn't. The Cam Stewart Show. Is that what we're calling it?
I guess, yeah. Honestly, Zach and I have been brainstorming. I have not thought of anything better. So I think we're rolling with Cam Stewart Show. It's tough to cancel. Tough to bring in a new host. So.
The Cam Stewart Show. I can't wait, dude. Thanks for spending time with me. You can hear him right now on Locked On, of course, every day. You do that every day.
Yeah.
There's something to be said. And sometimes on Saturday. Oh,
yeah,
controversial
so 5 days a
topic.
week, but
I got a controversial topic for you. All right?
Oh, gosh, here we go.
So I am doing the Big 12 softball tournament for ESPN, right? So I'm doing the first 3 rounds, okay? I thought what happened with that young woman from Baylor, I thought it sucked.
Yeah.
A girl was shoplifting. I mean, it's out there. And I don't want to say her name because I liked her so much. She was shoplifting and she was booted off the team. Baylor did what they had to do. But where I work, my news station, I was in Salt Lake. I had a game for a BYU game.
What? You did a BYU game?
I did a bunch. Yeah,
Pete did like every BYU game.
So I was there, and it came across my phone as it was KWTX. It was an alert from us.
Yeah, Channel 10
we
broke it.
really put it out there. And I was like, oh, my gosh. And then you picked it up. You did a whole podcast on it. I'm like, which I understand.
Which ruffled some feathers.
I'm
but I was
sure
like, hey,
it
it was
did.
already reported. It had been reported.
It was already reported. And, it is what it is. Mm-hmm. I mean, as a person, if I do something wrong, right, it's already done. It's out there.
Yeah.
So like there are consequences for doing stupid things in life. Mm-hmm. And it's almost like if you tell somebody a secret and they tell somebody else and you're pissed at them for telling somebody else that secret. Well, you told them.
Yeah.
It came out of your mouth. So what was your thinking behind doing that? Honestly,
Pete, I didn't even want to do it because I was just like.
For people who don't know softball, this girl is the probably the best player on the team. The team
Yeah.
has survived.
Yeah.
They're doing pretty well. She was the best player on the team. She had a big personality. She was doing stuff like with the school, like YouTube videos. So go ahead.
So I honestly
I'm giving you a
didn't
chance
even,
to clear your name.
I it's funny to say I didn't even want to do it because I was pretty quick onto it. But like total honesty here, I just didn't think it was like that big a deal. It's one of those where should she be held accountable? Yes, like broke the law. But to me, it's like there, but for the grace of God, go I as a college student. You know what I mean? So I was like, this ain't a big deal. Like it's pretty much a victimless crime, if we're being honest. So I didn't really want to do it. But honestly, I had this thought when I saw that KWTX had it. I was like, am I going to get in trouble for not doing this? You know, is this going to blow up tonight? And I'm going to be the only sucker who doesn't talk about it. And so I was like, kind of begrudgingly did it. And it did ruffle some feathers that I did that. But I was just like, and I wasn't in a position at that time when it broke to be as honest as I just was with you of like, what's the big deal?
Well, dude, I so appreciate you taking us under the hood and into the thought and the thought process that goes into that as somebody who's hosting a show in today's day and age. I mean, I agree with you. Once KWTX comes out with that, my man Tommy Witherspoon breaks the story. Tommy Two Fingers, because he types real slow, right?
Yeah.
I mean, Tommy's doing his job too. I think for me, I was just bummed out because, I have a history, being sober now for a while, where I did a lot of dumb stuff. Now, I will tell you, if I wasn't held accountable for that dumb stuff, I don't know that I'd be here sitting with you today.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So consequences are important. I just, I hate seeing that happen to people.
Yeah, and I wish I could have gone on the next day and just been like, okay, now that I told you the story, here's what I think. And it was one where I wasn't like trying to put opinion in it or anything. I try not to for breaking news stuff, but I was just like, I didn't feel great about it afterwards. Not that I should not have done it, but I was just like, Not that I should not have done it, but it was one of those where it's like, what would have really happened if I didn't do it?
Yeah, no, I appreciate your honesty. It's something I wanted to ask you about.
And that's not, it's not that way. It's not that way for a lot of the stories.
Yeah.
But for that one, I was just like, And like you said, I mean, she was active. Like she was very well liked, and it's just one of those where I was just like, personally, I don't think it's a big deal. I know a lot of people do think it's a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a mistake a young kid made.
It's like I did plenty of dumb stuff as a high school and a college kid. I got caught for some of it. I guess it wasn't, the monetary value, but I did a lot of dumb stuff, man. So that's why I was like, I feel for this girl. She's a college kid.
Yeah. Well, you're very talented at what you do.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you being honest with us. I appreciate you coming on today. I was telling you earlier, I listened to Chris Russo today. And I listened to your podcast, Locked On, within like 3 hours of each other. And honestly, dude, I wouldn't have known the difference. I mean, obviously, just hear me out. Yeah. I know it's an acquired taste for certain people, but you can carry a show. You deliver it. That is not easy. Sitting down for 30 minutes, holding your own, keeping people's attention, which goes back to what we just talked about, right? Like there are certain things that you have to do to stay interesting and to interest people. So, keep it up, man. We're happy to have you. Right,
Thanks.
Zach?
I'm happy to be here.
Zach's shaking his head.
Zach is happy for me. I'm happy to be with Zach.
All right, go easy on your girlfriend tonight. I appreciate you.
Go Breeze.
All right.
We are Rogue Media.